We're doing an interview here to talk about his upcoming class at CPP on C, using C++ in practice, complete introduction. You've done this class before. Actually, you just did it at ACC too, correct?
Yes, that's right. So I do it a couple of times because I think time is right now to switch to C++ 20, or at least to start to switch to C++20 to parts of it. And because major compilers support it, and I see a lot of requests also by programmers and companies and projects to do trainings there. Yeah.
That's interesting because, even in my particular day job, we're starting to work with C++20 because it's finally hitting that maturity, right? I mean, it's like we're starting to push 23. That's got the new features, but 20 is just becoming more mature as a standard. You understand what I'm saying? Like when we look at some of the new features that come out, I know from our particular point of view, we want to wait till things are a little more stable.
Oh, and that's for a good reason. And of course, it all depends on your particular interests. So for example, some projects may decide because they ship in 3 years that they do it now. Others might wait until this is a standard C++ version supported by Red Hat or Debian Linux. So there's a wide range of support. I still do C++11 trainings. So from time to time where companies just switch to that version.
I could see that. It's funny you say that about the compiler support, because that's actually... So in your mind, what are some of the best parts that you like with new C++20?
Well, one subject that stands above everything is probably concepts. In concepts, fill a gap we were looking for years now. And that is, we want to somehow specify or constrain generic code in a way that it can be even processed formally by looking at whether some specific requirements are met, to decide whether generic code is appropriate or to switch to the right version of overloaded version of a function or a class. And that is a feature that was, we tried to even introduce concept in 2011, but we failed because we made it too complicated. And now I think we have a good solution that will help tremendously, at least in areas where we have generic code, which, by the way, does not only apply to library implementers, it also applies to ordinary application programmers because it improves error messages and makes the whole generic code you are using, and everything in the C++ standard library is generic code,
right,
more robust and less fragile.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that, because I used to think of template code being more for libraries, but even in my day job, I did credit card programming, and a Visa card and a MasterCard and an American Express card, they have enough similarities, but having them be their own strong types. And as you said, the standard template library, I mean, it's all about templates, so it works well. So I totally see what you're saying there.
Well, it's already using vectors, so continue. Yeah. I mean, these are all generic, not even strings is generic code. So we have it in that.
So what other kind of topics I see when I was looking at the description that covers JThread, a little bit on coroutines. And I think we've talked before that when you give a class this way, you kind of do more of the overview and the understanding and then the gotcha, correct?
That's correct. The way I teach and the way I write books about topics has changed over the last 20 years. So 20 years ago, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have laptops. Now we have CPP reference. And so I don't have to teach all the details. The more important thing is to just teach concepts, the ideas, the motivation, the pitfalls. Yes, we have them even in new features, and all the things you have to know, not to be frustrated when you start early. Well, going a little bit beyond the great PowerPoint examples that look great, and then suddenly you change something and your code is broken, or even worse, you don't know that it's broken, but it behaves strange.
Yep.
And for that, you needed good understanding what's going on behind the scenes. And that's where I concentrate on in my trainings and books.
And that's really good to hear, because I think we were talking once before. It's like you can definitely go to CPP reference and get small code snippets. I happened to look up like the new J thread, and I think the snippet's about 20 lines long, which I'm sure will run just fine, but it's not going to actually probably help me understand and really use J.
Yes, and at first you have to understand why JThread is an improvement over SCD thread. And you have to understand what is the purpose of concept. And for example, but there's more. Think about a new thing like concepts, which allow you to constrain and specify generic code. You need test code for that. So with a feature, new things come, new traps, new errors, and new test code. And that is all that what brings the big picture. That's bringing the different features together. And that is what I try to concentrate in this training, so that we, beside introducing a feature, see how it is really used in practice and how it applies and how usability applies dealing with other new things and traditional old C++ code.
Well, I have to say, when I was at ACCU, the amount of people coming out of your workshop are so excited about the content. If anybody wants to get caught up on C++ 20, they definitely need to come and take your workshop. So I have to say that. To the JThread part, though, I have to say, because you're also giving a talk, Let's Program Live, the joy and pain of concurrency. And I'm guessing JThread might be involved in that, but I laugh because, I practice any live code, any live example in a talk as many times as I can. And you're just willingly, with your experience, going to do this as a talk.
Well, to some extent, it's not a talk. It's just we program together. Of course, I have a script, and I use an exercise in my trainings from time to time. And it takes a little bit more time. So I'm myself curious how it works. But even if we fail, we learn. So because multi-threading concurrency is so tricky, and it makes such a big difference to see the pain of things that you think could go wrong, but ideally forget about. And yes, I don't concentrate only on C++ 20 there. It's just a general introduction of just bringing sequence code into parallelization, into parallel code, and then looking a little bit also on some features like JThread that came with C++ 20 and how they could help.
Well, I'm going to be excited for both parts because, I've seen you speak at a lot of conferences. I've met you and known you for a while, and to see you, the fluidness that you can give a talk, I'm excited to see the outcome of it. So for everyone watching, come a couple days early, take the class. If you want to get a good overview of C++ 20, Nicolai is the gentleman to teach it, and then stay for the talk because that'll be exciting as well. And so I look forward to seeing you at CPP OnSea.
Thank you. I'm excited as well, by the way. So let's see how it works out. And I'm looking forward to meet you all there. You, Kevin, and all the attendees and those who listen to the video. And take care. It's not that easy. C++ 20 is as traditional as the other C++ versions. Tell you so.
Thanks, Nico. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. So that went good. We should be able to cut that. We can make work.
So wait a minute. So I stop the record.